Welcome to another episode of Through the Lens of Christ. I am here again to talk about Community Christian Academy, and we've been taking some topics about the school, kind of how we started, where we're going, what we expect to do, what classical education looks like. For this episode, we're going to take some time and talk with Ashley, our principal, and talk through parental expectations, or really expectations of parents. So when we're talking about launching this school, this wasn't just a matter of educating our kids. It was a matter of discipling, a matter of raising up virtuous children and discipling both kids and parents. And so I think it would be good for us to talk a little bit about what we expect as a school that's different than just dropping your kid off for an education. So that's a broad topic, but as we start there, what are some thoughts that you might have, Ashley?
Yeah, this is a great topic to discuss for setting up how we can work together. Our mission statement talks about partnering with parents. And so what does that look like? I think those terms are used in a really interesting way because you hear that all the time. Schools want to partner with parents, but partnership is really unique, and that's something that we want to make sure that we are making efforts toward working together so that we can do life together. This isn't just about, like you said, dropping your kids off in the morning. This is a ministry of the church for a reason. We want to make sure that we are providing opportunities for parents to get involved, not only in their children's education personally, but also in just being here.
Yeah.
You know, being physically present in the day when you can be, but also continuing the same principles that are biblical principles that we're instilling in children here.
Yeah. We understand there's constraints, right? That's one of the reasons why many parents would say, hey, I would homeschool if I were available, right? And so we understand that that's not possible. But yet, as it is possible, that's where we want to have the engagement. I think one thing that stood out to me, kind of unrelated to what we're doing, but we were talking a week or so ago, and we were talking about parent-teacher conferences and about how, you know, you're in the public school system and trying to get parents to come to parent-teacher conferences. Like I always, as both a child and a parent, I assumed that they were mandatory, right? I didn't know they were optional. But you were just talking about how it's difficult to get parents to come. And I think even something small like that, I mean, those happen a couple of times a year. They're not very long. They're just check-ins where you can share both how the children are doing and where they might need some additional care. We would expect our parents to want to do those things.
Right.
We would expect our parents to want to do more than that. And so I think when we talk about engagement and partnership, it's beyond just what are the minimum requirements set out sort of by public school standards. And how do we elevate that? How do we actually engage together? Both of us have children currently at Ozaki Christian School. And we love the school and love the teaching staff and the head of school. And one thing that I love about what they do is the idea of the core to three strands. And they kind of repurpose that to say that it's school, church, and home.
Yes.
I like that concept, right? That idea is what we're trying to do with this school, is to say that, yeah, there's going to be a school where we're going to educate your kids. We're also going to be partially raising those children.
Yeah.
We want the church to have a responsibility in that, and home, and all of those be connected. So I guess from your perspective, coming out of the public school, having kids in private school, entering into a new school that's a ministry really, what are maybe some of the specifics that you think of when, hey, good looks like what?
Yeah. So I guess, honestly, I, being a public school teacher for as long as I have been, having children in a private school obviously is a need, right?
Yes.
Because public school is public school.
Yep.
But because I am also a public school teacher, I have not been able to be as involved as I would have liked to have been thus far in my children's education. So, you know, like you were just saying, completely understand that it's just not feasible for every parent to be in the school building during the school day. But that's why I think we've been having conversations around things like having a school Bible study where families can come. They can do these Bible studies at home, and we can meet together maybe once a month or so and kind of walk through together what it looks like to raise a family, what it looks like to instill Christian principles in your children. And parenting is hard. So just to walk through some of those things together, we're more like as we're going through this together, right? We're a church family already. We're going to be a school family. We're going to be even closer as parents and children and families who are doing school together than we even are as a church family. So just leaning on one another, helping one another when things do get hard, because they will.
Yeah, I mean, and what we're talking about is how do we trust one another, right? And so the more time we spend together, the easier it is to trust one another, right? That we have good, strong relationships. I know you're in a small group where I think several of the parents or those families in that small group, the kids are going to be coming here, right? And so the idea of building relationship in church and building relationship in small group and building relationship in school. So when the kids run into trouble, because they're going to run into trouble, right? I've shared with several of the parents, I would much rather my kids make mistakes with their kids because we're on the same page, right? And we can parent that out together. And we can, it's not, Johnny's parents don't care that we did this, or no, I want to be with like-minded people raising our kids together. And so if there's conflict, I want to be able to contact the other parents and walk through a Matthew 18 idea of what conflict resolution looks like. I want our kids to learn that. I want our parents to learn that. I want us to be able to show grace to one another and just learn all those pieces. If my kid's struggling in math, I want to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm coming over to your house tonight because, one, we're going to hang out, but I also need your kid's really good and whatever. I need them to help mentor, coach my kid. Like just those relationships and interconnectedness. And so when we talk about expectations, there's an expectation that we're going to paint this building together. And there's an expectation that we're going to, figure out how to do the school and build it up together. Yes. But so much bigger than that is just the process of parenting and raising our kids together. And that's what I'm most excited about. Yeah.
And kind of to go off of that, you brought up some really great points, but kind of to go off of that too is, we can lean on each other to help for our children, to help each other, but to help each other as adults, as parents, like we need that too. So I think that you're absolutely right. Just going through life, doing all of these things together is going to be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I've shared, having kids on opposite ends of the age spectrum, right? So with older boys, they went to Kettle Moraine Lutheran, and we only knew a couple of the parents from there. We didn't go to church with them. We knew those parents from baseball, right? The kids grew up playing sports together, and so we sent them to school there, but we really didn't have relationship. And so I know it's hard to believe, but my kids weren't perfect, and and as a parent, and I wasn't perfect, and so you're navigating this thing, and it would have been so nice to pick up the phone and call these other parents, not out of I don't know how they're going to react, and I don't know what they're going to say, and are they upset, or my kid upset somebody else and created issues in another. Those things are going to happen because we're just living in a fallen world, and right. But teaching our kids how to handle those things in healthy ways and doing it together as parents, and even being able to say, hey, Ashley, you know what? We're kind of parenting through this right now. Our kids are struggling with this. Have you seen that with your kids? Have you been through that before? What were some of the things you learned? Like that to me it is discipling us as parents. The whole purpose of parenting in Scripture is about our own sanctification. We're not just called to, have some kids and then launch them into the world. It's we're being changed, and then through that, they're being raised in a way that is more godly and more appropriate in character. And so doing that with other like-minded people, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. I would completely agree.
Yeah. So when we think about on the education side, right, what are some things that you think, hey, look, a parent could get involved in the school during the day, say mom or dad's available during the day? What are some things that you might say, hey, as we work through this, you might be able to come in and do this?
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to need a lot of people in the building throughout the course of a school day, from recess duty to front office volunteers to people to serve lunch. All of these things are going to require hands, and many hands make light work.
Right.
So those are some things that parents could get involved in. If a parent had any special interest or training in any particular high school elective, that's definitely an area where we can have some conversation as well, so that we can make sure that we're offering a lot of options to our students. But there's just lots of opportunity for involvement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking you brought up the elective thing. I mean, we have people who said, hey, I can do small engine repair. Well, I think that's awesome, because guess what? I can't, right? At least not effectively, right? I could show them the worst way to do it, right? But having a parent who's capable and qualified and is like, yeah, I want to do this and I want to share this skill. We've got moms that are like, look, I would love to teach our kids how to cook, sew, some life skills that just our kids are lacking in today. I think about being able to come in and read with kids, right? And that's beyond just parents, right? That's people in the church who just, I know that my own kids grew up away from their grandparents, right? We're from Pennsylvania, and so they largely spent most of their childhood away from grandparents. And so at the church, they've developed grandparent relationships with other people. And it's a beautiful thing. And so to be able to come in and share those experiences and let those kids trust other believers in the church, it's just again, I believe it's the Acts model that we've been called into. And so I think talking about expectations to get involved is good. I think our higher expectation is just that our parents would be dedicated to Christ, that they would be dedicated to raising our kids in that, and that we would be comfortable sharing with each other about that. So I think I would ask you this question. I put you on the spot all the time with questions. So looking like, public school model, private school education for the kids, like when you think about what are some life lessons, not necessarily skills, but like life lessons. You think about poor mistakes that are made from kids growing up in school, and you think about things that our kids are going to be faced with, and what might be some ways that you're like, yeah, I think when my kids inevitably will face these types of things, I want them with, other believing families who are dedicated.
Yeah, I guess if I were to think about some of the things that I wish that my kids had more of, even in a Christian school, is just people in front of them whose main goal and desire in life is to praise God with their words and actions. And I mean, obviously, like you said, we live in a fallen world, and it's never going to be perfect. We're never going to live up to praising God with our words and actions every second of every day. It's not going to happen. But I think that something that is really missing in a lot of educational settings is a teacher who is able to recognize when they've done something wrong and demonstrate what it is to ask for forgiveness and be repentant of that and be humble enough to teach children how to do that. We live in a society where it's really hard to take responsibility for your actions. And when you're an adult and you're supposed to be the one with all the answers, to kind of take a step back and say, look, I messed up. So I think that being able to model those things in a Christian setting I think that that's going to be really fantastic for our children.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point. We talk about it in the church setting, like as a pastor, there's expectations, right? Like people expect me to act a certain way, or if people are like, wow, you read the Bible a lot. It's not like, that's really great. It's more of, well, you're a pastor, right? I think about the same thing in the school setting. Like, you're going to be a principal. They're going to expect you to have a model of joyfulness and a model of godly walk and example, right? So the fact that Ashley lives like that, well, of course, she's the principal. The teachers, of course, they're the teachers. But the parents who come in and out of our building, who are modeling Christ-like behavior, that's where it matters most, right? We can discount, like I always say on a Sunday morning, if I say hi to somebody, if one of our ushers say hi to somebody, nobody counts that as talking to somebody, right? It's like, no, you're supposed to, right? But it's when the person next to them in a seat takes time to talk to them that they actually feel valued and cared for. And I think it's the same model going to be in our school, is when we do it, that's the expectation, right? When the parents do it, who are just doing it out of their natural predisposition to follow after Christ and are being an example and loving on other kids and treating them as though in some way they're their own and they're part of this family, that's going to be meaningful to our kids for a long time.
Well, and I think even to take it a step further and having those good role models for our children, right? But also then having our children, as they grow and mature, to be that good role model for the younger children too, I think is really something that we can take advantage of here, because little kids look up to the big kids.
Yes. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to open this up to the full age range, is because we're only going to have a handful of high school kids, right? But I want to see them engaged with our younger kids and showing them what they're learning and then living that out, I think it's just critically important.
Yeah.
It's really good to talk to you. I think it's really important that we just continue to see your heart. I think you've continued to, whether in front of the cameras or behind the scenes, you have a passion for the kids, you have a passion for Christ, and you desire to bring that out in everything you do. And so I'm excited for the school to launch. A lot of work still to do. If anybody's interested in helping, please help. But we certainly, a lot of work yet to do, but a lot of good things have already happened. So thank you, Ashley, and we're looking forward to what's to come.
Thank you.